Greetings and welcome to your brand new program, which is the Compassionate Couch, a program that is coming to you almost every week, where we're going to be centering on the sensitive issue, which is mental health. Well, my name is Balvin Makichi, and I'm not going to be alone on this one. I'm going to be riding with our resident occupational therapist, who is Miss Majita Mwayera. So, Maji, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so occupational therapy. Maybe somebody might just want to ask, what is occupational therapy?
Okay. So Marvin, occupational therapy basically is not occupation as in I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse. No. Yes, that is an occupation,
Okay.
but that's not the definition in occupational therapy. So basically, occupational therapy is talking about the activities that people do in day-to-day life. So that might be your bathing, your cleaning, going to the bank, going to buy groceries. That is
Okay.
an occupation. So an occupational therapist then comes in when the independence to do this alone, these activities alone, has been impaired. This can be due to a physical problem. Just imagine that your hand is broken. How can you now brush or comb your hair? That now is when you might need an occupational therapist. An impairment with or a dissociation between the mind and the body also now calls for an occupational therapist to come and try to help you so that you regain independence and are able to function alone without any assistance from anyone else.
Okay,
That's
okay,
basic.
okay. All right, now it seems intriguing,
Yeah.
and I guess we're going to be learning a lot about this whole thing. So maybe, a lot of people might not know you, personally. So who's this girl who's talking about this very, very delicate subject? So maybe if you can just introduce yourself a little bit and give us a bit of info about
All
you.
right. So I usually love to start explaining occupational therapy from my dad's perspective because if I tell you that I didn't get admitted into like the OT profession immediately, I actually had to go and beg for them to actually accept me into the program. Not
Yes.
that the results are okay, but they just didn't want me there. So I remember going into the chairperson at that time, a lady, and then she asked me, why do you want to do this? Initially, I wanted to do physiotherapy because that's all I knew. Why did I want to do physiotherapy? You might ask. So initially, when I was in Form 4, I remember my dad suffered a stroke. And we were very close. Me and my dad were very close. I'm saying were because he's now late.
Oh.
It's okay. But so because we were very close due to health conditions, I'm asthmatic. So growing up, seeing how he's there for you, he's taking care of you generally. This then meant that I always wanted to do something for him. So when he got the stroke, I started saying, you know what, I wanted to do physiotherapy. Then she asked me, why do you want to be a physiotherapist? And what stage of rehabilitation is your father? And I then showed her pictures of my dad. And then she'll say, no, what you want to do for your father now is not physiotherapy. What you want to do for your father is to improve the quality of his life.
Okay.
Maybe with the home adaptations. And then she said, try OT for a year. If you don't like it, you can come back and then I'll enroll you into the physio program that you said you wanted. And look at me now.
Wow. Now you're
Years
a
later.
whole
Yes.
occupational therapist.
Yeah, I actually suffered a lot. So the main reason, because initially I wanted to go into neuromanagement,
Okay.
because remember the stroke is neurological. It's a dissociation of the brain with the physical, not the mind aspect. So because of that, I then went into what I call it wasn't clinical depression, but it was more like a mini depressive state that I then suffered. So what happened is, when you're on a Word document, you're trying to remove track changes. I'm doing my dissertation, I'm trying to remove the track changes. They give me the document, say, Maji, okay, your dissertation is fine. Can you just remove, it will take me 2 weeks. I had no motivation whatsoever to do anything. So the fact that now I was within my lecturers basically understood what I was going through.
Okay.
So they helped me through it. And because of the type of help that I then got from them, actually made me realize that, you know what? How many people can say that their lecturers managed to help them to actually improve on how they dealt with their school life, right? That's why you see that the number of the rate of suicide right now that is going up, especially in Zimbabwe, has actually gone up. Where you see that children are saying the colors are too much. I can't understand this mess the math that they're giving me. How are the teachers or the lecturers helping those students? For me, it was a good thing because I was being taught by OTs. So
Okay.
OTs teach OTs, and because they have been trained in the mind, they actually helped me. And I figured, you know what? You actually need to help other people. So that's where my passion lies when it comes to mental health. That's where it started.
Wow, wow. All right, what an intriguing story.
Yeah, we can
what,
go
what
on
a
and
way
on.
to get into a profession. But nonetheless, you
Yeah.
seem to have a whole lot of, passion
Yes.
towards this
Yes.
issue. So, of course, this job, you get to work with a lot of issues to do with the mental health.
Yes.
Yes, mental health. So, of course, in this program, we're going to be centering more on that.
Yes.
So, maybe if you can just tell us, why did you decide to center mostly on mental health?
So when you're looking in Zimbabwe, I usually love to give the country that I'm in or Zimbabwe as context because that's what's affecting me as a person. So when you look at mental health in Zimbabwe, I can give you a basic question. A basic question. Let's take for example that you have a broken ankle. Is it hard for you to get assisted with a broken ankle?
Well,
How many clinics are there to deal with that? There are a lot, right? How many clinics are there? Let's say you're just there's a time that you're saying, okay, fine, you're feeling low. It's normal to feel low.
Yes.
But there's a low that you're like, yo, this even I've never experienced this type of low before. How then who do you go to? Right. For me, I also like to give my family as examples. I am very sorry to them. I am very sorry. They traumatized me, so I'm allowed to use their examples.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, yes. And so for me and my family, we're quite closely knit. I have a sister. That's what also triggered it. So I have a sister who at that time was staying very far away. So I come from Mutare. She was the other side of the country. And we lost our dad. Everyone was there for everyone. But I always tell people that facing life after the death of a loved one starts when you're now living without the loved one.
yeah, exactly.
So she was facing difficulties. How does she cope with our father not being? He was a very present father. I will tell you, he was very present. Like he was there in your life, like
Okay.
right here, like in your face.
Wow.
Not in a bad way. There's in your face in a bad way, but there's in your face like he was there. If you needed someone to hold you, he was there to hold you.
was there.
Exactly. So when I then noticed that my sister was going through these challenges, and I had to drive almost every week. Actually, if I say almost every week, I was now driving from that town coming back to school. At that time, I was still at school. I was now driving, coming from that town, coming back to school, and because she couldn't get help in that particular town.
Okay.
So imagine a whole town is not able to cater for someone who's there. And now you're thinking, okay, how many people are actually facing these problems and how are they being helped, So I think that's just basically what then sparked my interest in it because of the love that I generally have for my family. And one thing that I always love telling people is we were taught that charity begins at home.
Exactly.
Right? And it's easier for you to use that charity outside because you have been practicing using that particular charity. So I then said, okay, fine. If I can do this for my sister, I'm definitely sure I can do it for someone else. Because right now, if I tell you, if you look for her, she's actually now my motivation.
Wow. So I guess you did a good job right there.
I won't take credit. But that's basically what then happened and
Yes.
what sparked the or intrigued me when it comes to mental health.
Okay. Love for family and just love for seeing people, in their healthy mind and
Yes.
doing good things for themselves. So, of course, there is mental health. This is a word that is common these days. but then there's also mental illness.
Yes.
All right. So maybe if you can define maybe the difference between the two. Is it a difference or is it the same thing? I don't know. Let's have you tell us about
Okay, so actually there are three facets when it comes to mental well-being. So there's we have the mental health, where mental health basically is the general state of mind, your emotional, how you feel, how you think, how you act.
Exactly.
Right. So if this is in what we call it like in balance, you're okay. If it's in sync with your mind, your body, and your soul, you're okay. Like you're okay mentally. Your emotions are in check. How people perceive you is also in check.
Okay.
That's good mental health, right?
All right.
So good mental health is a state of well-being that a person is in,
Okay.
right? And we have mental illness, right? I'll go to the other end of the spectrum where we have mental illness, where mental illness now is a condition, right? So that's where you have your depressions, you have your anxieties, you have your phobias that are now coming into play
Okay.
with mental illness, your schizophrenias, right? But not everyone. Why I wanted to give the spectrum at to the different ends, right, is because we also have an in-between where we have poor mental health, right? So there's a difference between mental illness and poor mental health,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So there's a solid difference there. So the difference between poor mental health and mental illness is, let's say I have depression as a mental illness, but poor mental health can come in when, let's say, the time that I'll give the example of the time that I lost my dad, right? At that particular time, I was not diagnosed with a mental illness, but at that time I had poor mental health,
Okay.
and which affected the functioning that I had as a person.
Okay.
So my functioning was reduced.
Reduced.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's more poor mental health. I think that's how I can easily define it.
All right. All right. You know, that's interesting. I guess we're gonna have to learn a whole lot more as far as this subject is concerned, because it is broad. Because most of us sort of like just get the whole thing together and we think that mental health is this, that, but a whole lot of stuff to learn right there.
Yes.
So of course, moving forward, there are these things called the stressors of life.
Yes.
The stressors of life. What are these? Because somebody might be asking himself or herself, am I having the stressors of life on me like right now? Okay. So what are stressors of life?
Okay, so basically stressors are, there's good and bad stress, right? So for me right now, this is good stress because I can be able to channel it for positive, right?
Okay.
So let's say, for example, I got a promotion at work. That is good stress, right?
Okay.
Because now I am happy, I'm energetic. That makes me so excited to go back to work, right? You might see me maybe if I start at 7, maybe I'm coming at 6:45. I usually, maybe before I used to come like at 7:15. So that is good stress, right?
Okay.
So it gives you confidence, it boosts your morale, it makes you, yeah, you feel human, right? So I usually, and then you have bad stress.
Okay.
So bad stress, just giving the same example, not so that we have many different examples, giving the same example of the time I lost my dad. That for me was bad stress because it then caused confusion, loss of confidence, loss of motivation.
Okay.
So generally, that's what then happens with bad stress.
Bad stress.
It then there needs to be an optimum in general performance. So you have your performance as a person, right, and the particular stress, right. So if there's normal stress and there's too little stress actually is bad for you.
Okay.
Little stress is actually bad for you. When I say little stress, I mean there comes a time where you're just at home, you're sitting, you wake up, you're bored. So that's where there's the boredom comes in,
Okay.
right? When you have little stress. And then you have another spectrum where you're overstressed.
Okay.
And usually this is what leads to burnout eventually, because you have constant stress that you're failing to manage, right? And then you're burnt out.
Okay.
That's just basically when it comes to stressors in life.
All right. All right. So intrigued to know that there's bad stress and good stress.
And little stress.
And little stress. All right, because
Yes.
I thought all stress was bad, but all right, the occupational therapist He's telling us that there's a bit of good stress as well. Something new that we've learned right there. So, of course, being church people now, we get to ask ourselves, what is the position of the church as far as mental health is concerned? Because a lot of people associate mental health with lack of faith. Okay, so is that what the church says, or maybe we just assume that's the way it is as far as church people are concerned? What is the church position as far as stress is concerned and mental health?
I would love to also use what the Bible says, right? I'm forgetting what the verse says, but I'm sure if you look at 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 23, it talks about peace of mind, right?
Okay.
And also, if you go to Psalms, it should be Psalms chapter 88, somewhere there. You see that there are different people who faced these challenges, right?
Okay.
Stress, depression. Elijah faced depression.
Yes.
All right. We have that example in the Bible. And we also come to the church, right? In our belief system, right? Number one, the belief system believes that they should be... all right. They say that the mind, the body, and the soul are an indivisible unity. That is what God created us to be, right? As an indivisible unity of the body, the mind, and the soul, right? I think that lies under fundamental belief number 7.
Yes.
If you want to look further into that, you definitely you can find more information in line with that. But what then happens is because of the entry of sin, right? Obviously, there now is a rift between the three, the mind, the body, and the soul. That is why now the church is coming in and saying, you know what? Right now, this is actually the church which is coming in, trying to educate people on mental health, trying to educate people that, you know what, you can actually be burnt out in doing the things that you love. Because, you know what, so what happens is, I actually remember someone giving a testimony of actually them over-stressing, right? So sometimes overdoing something causes stress.
Yes.
Right? I love this other line, too much of a good thing is bad.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Too much of a good thing it actually is bad. Right?
True.
So the church then comes in and says, okay, fine, we need to enrich the people. We need to explain to them that this is normal, right? You can come to church, you can pay your tithes, you can worship God, you can praise the Lord. But because we are talking about an illness, right? Why are we not talking about the church, the position of the church when it comes to diabetes, right?
Okay.
Let's not try to dissociate health issues right here. So if you're looking at diabetes and schizophrenia the same way, we will then be able to see the church's position on this particular issue, because they're just saying mental illness is a disease just like diabetes, just like high blood pressure, just like asthma, just like any other illness that you'd go to a doctor, like any other chronic illness that you might actually get.
Okay. So it's just like any disease.
It's just like any disease.
It has nothing to do with verses and chapters and you and your faith.
No, it has nothing to do with that.
All right.
Yes.
I wanted that clear. I really wanted that one clear. So, of course, as we go on,
It doesn't mean that you're not praying. If you have a mental illness,
okay.
it does not mean that you're not praying. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, moving on, there's this thing called grouping mental health issues.
Yes.
All right. So, what is this group or grouping of mental health issues? So, what exactly is it?
Okay. So, when we're trying to group mental health issues, there are literally a lot of mental health problems that are out there. You can try to look up DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistic Manual on mental health issues. It's a very thick volume that you have. I'm actually saying DSM-5, Volume 5. This is volume number 5.
Number 5.
So, but generally, these are we're just gonna try to group them in what I call issues that we're now mainly seeing at this particular point, or that like the major causes of mental health, like the major illnesses that we're seeing. So we have different ones. We have anxiety disorders, right? We have psychotic disorders. We have your personality disorders,
Yes.
yeah, also coming into play, and your mood disorders also come into play
Okay.
as well. So these are just the general groups that you might have, right? And so when you're grouping them, like for example, anxiety disorders, anxiety in its actual term means fears or phobias.
Okay.
So these are general fears or phobias. And you have your personality disorders where basically I have a rigid way of thinking. So rigidity actually affects a person and how you function in society as well. So, for example, if I think that I am always right when I'm wrong, right? That's where you have your OCDs, right? Or exactly.
Okay.
So exactly, you have your OCDs coming into play, and you have your. I also mentioned mood disorders. These affect this affect how you feel
Okay.
as a person,
As a person.
right? So there's the mood, the affect, and how you're looking. So you have your depression, right? This is an example of a mood disorder where basically the person is low. You can actually see on their face that actually this person is very low. They can't actually, what you call this, seem to you can't seem to make them happy, right? Exactly. And their motivation is also low
Yes,
as well.
yes.
So these are just some of the different groups that you have when you come to mental health issues or mental illnesses.
All right.
Yes.
All right. A whole lot of stuff. Mood disorders,
Yes.
anxiety, a whole lot of stuff. I guess maybe some of us, we look at it and just go like, oh, well, it's just one of those. But I guess it's these are serious issues that are affecting people daily. So, of course, being in Zimbabwe, Maji, there's a lot of stuff that's going on within our country. So, what are the main causes of mental health in Zimbabwe? All right. Because I guess maybe the causes could be different from somebody who's overseas. Okay. Here, we got Nuzesa, we got this, that, going on. Okay.
You're actually
Maybe,
mentioning
yeah.
the causes of stress.
Of stress. So, all right. I thought,
Yeah, you're actually talking about the
it's
causes
just one
of
of those.
stress right
So,
now.
what are the other ones? I just mentioned one.
We have,
Maybe you can give us other ones. Okay.
I'll give you the major one. Money.
Okay. Yeah, no, that
Like
one.
that's
No, that one is serious. All right.
so I think when you talk about stress, you mental health issues, you have money sometimes, but one of the major issues that we see causing mental health issues though is traumas that
Alright.
are unresolved. So usually we tend to group this into childhood traumas.
Okay.
Right? You know, sometimes you see your child acting out, saying, maybe you start saying, this child is too naughty, they're too lazy, they don't want to do this, they are, I'm looking for the word that people usually, so, the word fleet, it left, but
Oh, really?
but basically that's what causes these. So these are sometimes also poor problem solving skills
Okay.
causes mental health issues. Like you remember I told you about the pathway so that is created in the brain. So let me just give an example, right? Let's say for example you are walking in a bush. And that bush leads to, let's say, another city, right? Or that area there leads to another, not city, another area or town or section of that particular community, right?
True.
Yes. You will see that there is a little path that is created in that area. And if you don't know the road, you just follow
just follow the path.
exactly.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just follow the path that's
Yeah.
created there. So that is the same with decision making, right?
Okay.
Or problem solving that happens with people. So let's take, for example, you have poor problem solving skills, right? All the time. So there's that pathway that is now created, right?
Okay.
And with this pathway being created, your body now tends to go into autopilot, right? You don't realize that you've gone into autopilot when this happens, but this is like there's good autopilot and there's bad autopilot. You're in autopilot and there's Mount Everest right there
Yes.
waiting for you. What happens? So this is the poor decision making skills that we're talking about. You hit straight autopilot and you crash. Exactly. So that's when you now have your mental illnesses coming into play.
Wow. Of course, you did mention money.
Yes.
I wanted more examples though.
You get more
poor
examples.
decision making.
Yes.
All right, fine. Maybe a couple more. Just a couple more. Because a lot of people, maybe these causes are more like triggers, isn't it?
Yes.
The ones that are leading people into this mental health situation. All right. So maybe if you can give us just a couple more examples of these factors that are leading people into mental illness.
So the factors that I gave you, right? Like I usually like to tell people that if I give you all of them, I am going to bombard you because I will not explain all of them.
Okay.
For example, let's take one that I have not mentioned: poor social skills, right? So when we come to poor social skills, right? Poor social skills are broad.
Okay.
Right. So social skills can be how I talk to you, how I relate to you, how I relate to others, how others relate to me.
Sure.
Right. I'm just giving like a small part of social skills.
Oh, okay.
Social skills are broad.
Okay.
Exactly. How you talk to social skills at work are different. Social skills at home are different. Social skills for children are different as well. Right. So that's why I say these are quite compound words that to the normal person, when I say poor decision making, poor social skills, it seems as if I have just said one thing, but I have mentioned a lot of things that you wouldn't really want to, what you call this, to bombard people with a lot of information.
At the same time.
At the same time, yes. But we see that poor social skills, right? Maybe let's take, for example, I'm gonna try to find Zimbabweans are very much they're known for making jokes out of problems.
Yes, yes.
Right? That is an example of poor problem solving skills.
Oh,
right.
okay.
It's good.
I guess Zimbabweans are listening.
No, it's good. Actually, it's a good coping mechanism, right? But sometimes how you then you see the poor decision making skill within the joke. You're not just looking at. So I usually love to wear different glasses when I'm looking at situations, right? Okay. So let's say I'm looking into a situation where we are talking to Zimbabweans, right? You put on your glasses as an Adventist. You put on your glasses as a therapist. I put on my glasses as a therapist, yes. And actually notice that, you know what, we are facing problems. This is someone who is refusing to deal with this problem, right? Yes. They're choosing jokes as a way to...
As an escape.
Exactly, as an escape from their problems, but they're not actually dealing with what the problem is at that particular point. So that's why I said it's a lot of things that you unpack when you talk about decision making, when you talk about problem solving, when you talk about social skills, poor social skills as well. So these are some of the things that you might be looking at.
Okay, seems like we're going to be looking at a whole lot of stuff right here, and unfortunately, we've run out of time, and this is a very broad subject. I was underestimating it, but I guess we're going to be learning a whole lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. So right now, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Margie, for coming through to the program.
You're welcome.
All right, so it has been the compassionate couch right here, and wow, we've got a whole lot of stuff to learn, and so make sure that you make a date with us next time to give you more on mental health related issues. My name is Marvin Makichi. Allow me to say adios, ciao, ciao. We're out of here.